Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BaseTradeTV DreamHack Montreal coverage for day number 2. My name is Fear Dragon, and I'm joined by the illustrious Rifkin. How you doing today, man?
I don't know, illustrious is like the right word I would describe myself with.
I was trying to make you feel better.
Anyways, I'm doing just fine, thanks. Up early, still a bit sore from yesterday. Elbows not going where they should be going, all that good stuff. We are casting quite a few matches today. I think 4 best of 5s, so casting with half the bracket and sending it all off to the mainstream afterwards. So just a heads up, thank you guys for joining us. This first match is going to be HeroMarine versus MarineLorD. I know yesterday we kind of made some jokes about like who's, I guess, the ultimate marine controller or whatever. And get the fun. Got to give some love to Panic Switch for the 25-month resub. Kicks off the stream very nicely over 2 years. Says, when can I buy tickets to RifCon, the Rifkin Con? Well, being subscribed to the channel is the con. It's the long con. You're giving me money and you get StarCraft in return, sucker.
Little did you know, you already can play the game mostly for free.
I think a lot of people know that, Fear Dragon. I don't think that's a little did they know.
Well, that was
moment.
supposed to be the con, because they can play it for almost for free, but they're still paying you.
Can they though?
Mostly, yeah. A lot of it's for free.
Actually, I do wish they put more emphasis on that. I know a lot of people don't understand that that's the case with StarCraft.
I know, right? Hopefully they will be doing something about that. But speaking about the match, ladies and gentlemen, we do have HeroMarine versus MarineLorD. We mentioned this before. Quick glimpse at their history shows that HeroMarine has basically won every single competitive match that they've played against each other, every single game. But that's only, of course, across 3 different games. So, HeroMarine.
Wait,
yeah.
HeroMarine?
HeroMarine.
Really? That's
Yeah.
actually really astonishing to me.
But, of course, again, it's across 3 games, so it's not a large sample size. But still.
No, but even then, I wouldn't expect that to be like a 100% success rate.
Yeah, definitely should be an interesting TvT though, because I also want to note, I think some of those matches were in Heart of the Swarm rather than Legacy of the Void, so hard to gather a lot of information from that. Regardless though, we are going to be starting up here at the top right-hand corner of the map, atop of the blue Terran player. Give it up for MarineLorD, representing Team Millennium.
And his opponent in the bottom left, he is going to be one of the only remaining members of Mouse Sports still around. It's going to be HeroMarine. Now, this is interesting. There's a lot of dynamics. There's the German versus French element. There's the Terran versus Terran element. But there's also the age difference. Both these two are like on the younger side of StarCraft players. But HeroMarine a bit younger than the other.
You know, it's so funny. In StarCraft, we often talk about like young talent. But the funny thing is, most of our young talent has actually been around for a while now. So our young talent, they're still young. They're still like, oh, you know, like under 18 or something like that. But they've just been playing StarCraft. We've known about them for like 3-4 years now. It's a little bit funny compared to like, I think a lot of other games where you haven't really seen a lot of the new talent coming up until recently.
Well, talent aside for the moment, I guess we should talk about how this matchup goes. First off, some of you may enjoy TvT, some of you may not. But here's the TLDR for those who don't really watch a lot of it. These matches can either be abruptly short, ending around like 1 Reaper, 2 Reapers, and a Hellion, or they can go really long with the Marine tank composition that we've known come and love. Strangely enough, though, between Beastie, Major, and a couple others, people have been starting, I want to say trying, but it's not the case. Like, Mech has been working in these weird select scenarios, and players who go Marine tank can't play versus Mech against a player who knows what they're doing with it. And it was BCQD versus Major in something we cast recently, where it just looked unfair. Like, and this is a composition that has just not worked in Legacy of the Void up to this point. So I don't know if anyone has Mech belts in their back pocket, but if they do, it is back in fashion.
Oh, first Reaper's gonna come in over here. Oh, MarineLorD might actually get trapped with his Reaper as he goes really far in. He's gonna be able to get the scout off, but oh, actually there's a gap between those 2 buildings, so he's gonna be able to make it out of here. And I guess just to add on to what you were saying before, yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises to me that took a little while to understand is in TvT,
Yeah,
SCV counts are not as important as they used or are in a lot of other matches.
no, they're not. But I was going to point out that really fast third CC out of HeroMarine upon chasing the Reaper out of the base. I think he went down immediately.
Ooh.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a guy who likes his third CCs when you can get away with them. But this, well, not incredibly risky. It's a bit surprising to see in game one. Galactic Process, I guess, is a map where you've got that sort of in third. Maybe he goes a little bit safer for it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in a best of 5, if you're going to take a risk, you try to take the risk either when you're up a game and you haven't lost any, or when it's game number 1. Those are the best 2 times to take a risk. I think we talked a little bit about that yesterday, so I like it.
Real quick, by the way, someone in chat is asking, and this is a fair question. It was switched at the last moment. Originally, we were casting Neeb versus Euthermal, and the mainstream was going with Polt versus Tudeming. Then they swapped it at the very last moment.
Mainstream wanted Neeb versus Euthermal for that rematch.
Well, it's not only that, but that's in my opinion, of the two, that's the better match. Polt might have hype around his name. I think Neeb versus Euthermal is the better match through and through, though, and that should be on the mainstream. I made a joke on Twitter because they're talking about how, wow, I can't believe it's on the B stream. I was like, fuck you guys. But also, yeah, I agree.
All right, well, it looks like the Reaper for HeroMarine moves out, gets cleaned up by the Hellions as he does notice the move out. Medevac is coming in, but look at this really well-positioned Cyclone, anticipating the angle for this.
I mean, this is, I think, easy enough for MarineLorD, HeroMarine to actually anticipate this coming. Problem is, while you do catch the Medevac, he still doesn't have an army to fight what's on the ground. His Marine count simply isn't there, and the Viking in the sky isn't that great, so that Cyclone has to do work. It has to carry him through it. And it looks like with taking the Medevac out, he's good to go.
Yeah. Cleans up the army and gets away. Only loses 3 workers so far, which really isn't too bad considering, as you mentioned before, he has a 3CC done. MarineLorD still just getting up his tech lab on his factory, and honestly, like a little bit behind in a lot of ways.
Stelios Cantos sits up with a 6-month resub, and he says the Twitch baby is in the 2nd trimester. Better start thinking of a name. Thanks for everything, guys. Thank you for the 6 months. And that is a very weird way to refer to your...
Alright, we got another medevac drop coming across the map for MarineLorD. This time it's going to be encountering a Viking rather than a Cyclone, and a second Viking even pops out. So
yeah, this is a little bit odd, actually. We don't see Vikings use too much. They are still good for control, but that Widowmine gets a double kill with those Marines. Now they go on top of the SCVs with no stim. This isn't a lot of damage, but this is still 6 SCVs down. Denied mining.
He's just leaving his SCVs over there. And while I said, you know, SCVs not as important as they are in some of the other matchups, they are still relatively important to have.
Yeah, you don't want to just give them away, but that did catch him, I think, a little bit more off guard than he expected. I guess he thought that the Viking would have really kept that from getting into the base. He still hasn't put the SCV on to finish that depot, so maybe a supply block imminent. Hopefully not, because it doesn't need to be.
Well, luckily he just lost 8 SCVs, Rifkin, so he's going to be okay for a little bit longer.
So I got that much going for me.
Look on the bright side. 3rd CC is finished up for MarineLorD, and kind of surprisingly, it's actually finished on point. So it's on the position, so it's actually going to start mining a little bit earlier on. Now, HeroMarine, after losing all those workers, I kind of feel like it's sort of evened up in terms of just economies.
Maybe the faster CC, losing workers, like, which really weighs out better in a TvT, a matchup where like your SCV count's not a big deal in the first place.
Yeah,
it's hard to say. But I do wonder, like, what this is gonna, like, they're both going Marines. Obviously, it's not gonna be mech or anything weird like that. But my question is, we're seeing a lot of Vikings come out of HeroMarine. Already had 2, producing even more. Air control's a pretty big deal. MarineLorD's hiding his Vikings. I'm actually really curious to see how this dynamic is going to work out when it comes to these fights. Because if you've got all the Viking control in the world, A, your opponent can't drop tanks as easily, and B, they might just straight up lose all their medevacs in a fight, which is never a good thing to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think the fear that I have right now is the fact that, yes, he's hiding those Vikings, but he still also has to produce some more medevacs, because he is trying to replace those medevacs that he lost earlier with those drops. So the weird thing is, yeah, he was like trying to be sneaky about it, but he also isn't going to have the Viking lead pretty soon. In fact, I think it's, yeah, currently 5 Vikings for HeroMarine in red for 4 Vikings that are being hidden for MarineLorD. And I think hiding them is it almost feels more like he's just trying to make sure they don't get sniped off by the 5 Vikings. Yeah,
now medevac's going to start coming out here for HeroMarine as well. Again, just a bit odd generally speaking, but I'm really curious to see whose Viking control ends up being better. The numbers obviously favor HeroMarine a bit, but it is going to come down to how you use them. Do you shoot your opponent's Vikings? Do you shoot the medevacs that have the tanks in them? We'll find out soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, for now, it seems like players are just going to sit back, still continue to macro up, get up as big of an army as possible. 1-1 already finished up for HeroMarine and is already starting up on that 2-2. Whereas I think Armory's just finishing up for MarineLorD, and he's probably looking to get that 2-2 at some point. So overall, it really does seem like there's a small little supply lead for HeroMarine, but nothing super significant on either side. And it looks like most of that supply is actually in the Marines, just the pure Marine count. So I guess that goes to show you that extra orbital, giving him that little bit of extra mules and minerals to make some more Marines earlier on.
Well, all the Marines in the world, of course, matter the most. This is not a game where we're going to see a big difference in upgrades. Of course, when it comes to Marine versus Marine fight, +1 can make a huge world of difference. There may be a small engagement where for a few seconds, MarineLorD has a bit of a lead. Excuse me, scratch that. HeroMarine. I've got the name swapped in the other way. HeroMarine has a bit of
we should call it red and blue.
Right? But at the end of the day, like, this is something where it does feel like it's going to be a longer game. I don't think we're going to see like that push out anytime soon. They'll probably be maxed out before they really commit. Here, MarineLorD actually is going to push out now, but truthfully, he doesn't have to commit too much. There's no positioning to take advantage of. That third base is already pretty well fortified. If he can take control of the watchtower, that'd be great, because then he might just see this coming. In fact, he'll see it coming now a little bit too late. So the medevac goes down. Marine's going to fall with it. Now HeroMarine's got to find a way to position himself. Well, you assume somebody might come up the ramp. The rocks on the south side might be a problem too, and that's why he has his Vikings down there.
Yeah, what was kind of nice about that for HeroMarine at least was that he managed to snag control of the Zalnunga Watchtower for even like a couple of seconds. So he saw the full scope of the army. He knows exactly what he's up against. The only thing that I think he really didn't see, well, I guess he did see the Vikings as well, so he should know everything he's up against. And like you said, it's all about positioning now, which is gonna be the more frustrating thing. That's part of the reason why he's sending out these single Marines to their deaths. It's just to get that scouting information. Make sure you're in position. Handful of Marines stimming forward, looking for whatever they can find, maybe catching the trail of the army, and he does see a little bit of a glimpse of it. He's gonna try and reposition to where he thinks MarineLorD is about to go. Scanning further ahead, making sure there's nothing else there. And the Vikings might actually be able to get some of these siege tanks in the medevacs if they're careful.
Of course, the golden rule of the tank versus tank in those medevacs is you got to be the first one on the ground. You want to get the first shots off. So positioning, while nice, it's not always a good thing. Or rather, repositioning, excuse me.
A lot of Marines for HeroMarine. Gotta back up down the ramp through the choke points.
This is not going so well for HeroMarine. Takes a really bad start to the engagement. His tanks are down first, though, so he got some good shots on MarineLorD's tanks, but he loses all that fodder. He loses all those Marines he has on the ground. Those tanks are nothing without the Marines in front of them to protect them.
Yeah, he needs to really be careful about this. He needs to back up and regroup, regather up some more of those Marines so he has, as you said, that fodder. Fourth expansion is going to be under fire pretty soon. He's going to need to float that away for now. Vikings are going to be able to harass it down at least a little bit, but it's about the medevacs that I'm really concerned, because the Viking count for HeroMarine just isn't there anymore. MarineLorD, with that Viking superiority in the air's control, he's going to be able to continue to push forward. He can move forward the Vikings, snipe off those medevacs, and prevent those siege tanks from being picked up. Here we go, big stim coming forward, and suddenly HeroMarine is losing a ton of his siege tanks. Marines are doing a ton of damage as well, and with no more fodder left over for HeroMarine, he's going to end up having to tap out. GG gets called. MarineLorD takes victory in game number 1.
Now, of course, quick reminder to everybody that best of fives are still the case for today, and this is simply that first game. So not the most devastating loss of all time, but that was very one-sided.
What was sort of interesting to me about it is that it was one-sided, but it was still a bit of a macro game. So I feel like there's a lot of potential. You mentioned something before, which I want to highlight. TvT is a matchup that can end very suddenly, but it can also end, like, it can end at very different points in the game. There are a lot of early aggression builds you can throw out. There are a lot of macro things that you can do to try and play catch up. There's a lot of sneaky things you can do. So I feel like it's not like somehow HeroMarine has exhausted all of his options and this is the game he has to play the entire series.
Yeah. I got to go get some Tylenol or something. I mean,
All right.
joints are hurting too much. I'll be right back. So just start this one without me, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good. But all right, as we get ready to hop into game number 2, the map looks like it's going to end up being Frozen Temple. I want to remind you guys for the series that we're going to be casting today, I think we mentioned it before, but it is going to be HeroMarine versus MarineLorD, which is obviously what we're doing right now. We're going to be following that up with a PvP of Whelmu versus Mana, a Laser versus Petite Drogo for that PvZ, following that up, and the last match is going to end up being Holt versus Tudming to close things up for the day, at least for the BaseTradeTV stream. I think that the main stream may end up having a couple more matches after that, depending on whether they do the quarterfinals today. I imagine they're going to do the quarterfinals today, and then maybe do like the semifinals and finals on Sunday. That's just what I imagine, though. That's a little bit of assumptions from me, and also basing out a little bit off of Wikipedia. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Frozen Temple for game number 2. We'll see you guys there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we are going to be spawning up in the top left-hand corner of the map atop of the blue Terran player. Go ahead and give it up for HeroMarine.
Alright, and I'm back. Sorry about that. Thank you. His opponents, spawning opposite of him, playing for Millennium, is going to be the red Terran MarineLorD. He's actually got one game for him so far in the series.
Thank you for confirming that. Just because the names are so similar, I keep forgetting, like I mixed up, like, wait, who won that last game? Which one of them?
The Marine guy.
Yeah, the Marine guy. That's the one.
You went Marine tank or whatever? You know. You know.
As opposed to the other
You
guy
know.
who went Marine tank.
Yeah. But okay, so you had mentioned before that it was actually the other way around when it came to their history together. Not that it was a large sample size or anything like that, but that's still, for me, that first game, I don't think that looked bad out of HeroMarine per se, but I just want to point out that's how bad positioning can make you look. If you are out of position for one good fight, one bad fight, if you get a couple of tanks picked off, that's one thing. But if you lose 20 plus Marines, I would say it's even worse than losing tanks in a lot of scenarios. Like, obviously you need both Marines and tanks to make this composition work, to make Terran work. But if you put all your focus on the tanks and not on the Marines, and they just go down for nothing, you're going to have a bad time. And that's kind of what happened at the end of that game. It just wasn't that complementary. The tanks cover the Marines, and the Marines cover the tanks. You know, the Marines are constantly in the air or on the ground, and the Marines are out of position or not near the tanks.
Yeah, already something sort of interesting going down, difference between the build orders. We do have faster CC coming out for HeroMarine, who also adds on that Reaper and sends it across the map, or is going to be ready to send it across the map, but actually leaving it at home for now. MarineLorD ends up going for a bit of a later Reaper after getting out, I think, a Marine or two, but he just gets up a faster factory. Still no starport on the way, though, which I think is kind of interesting.
I don't know that you need to prioritize a starport. Again, the early opener builds don't matter as much. You're not really rushing Banshees anymore, although occasionally we will see the odd Banshee build. It is about getting those ground units out. I think there's actually a lot more fear in this matchup of losing the game to a Reaper and 2 Hellions, or vice versa, than there is to losing it to like a Banshee or an early drop.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright, well, a couple of Marines going to be coming out and should be able to chase off that Reaper and the Hellion. MarineLorD still can put a little bit of pressure on, just trying to deny mining from this natural expansion until the Marine count actually builds up high enough that they're not afraid of that splash damage from the Hellions, but for now, MarineLorD swapping on that starport to not to the tech lab. Interesting. Is he just gonna have an idle tech lab? Is he not gonna produce Marines?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. I'm not sure what he's doing with that. I thought that was going to be for tanks for certain. There we go.
I guess he was letting the okay, I guess he was letting the Hellions finish, yeah, to get the reactor on the barracks tech lab on the factory. That makes a lot of more sense. Well, Cyclone able to chase back those Hellions, and finally HeroMarine seizes control of his natural expansion again and can transfer some of the workers down over there. But this is leading itself more toward one of those macro games once again as players start to build up more and more of those armies. We'll start to see when players actually feel confident throwing down more barracks, starting to get up more of that production. or if we're going to actually end up seeing a nice little push out on the 1-1-1 setup of Barracks Factory Starport, just getting out whatever units they can. We do have a Banshee on the way, though, with Cloak, so HeroMarine looking to get a little bit more aggressive in the following stage of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this changes things up a little bit, but unfortunately, Cloak Banshees really, they've got about a 3-minute window of opportunity to get anything done. If you can get some good kills with it, maybe cool, maybe not. Oh, the Cyclone is going to catch that medevac, though. HeroMarine, unfortunately, not able to boost away, so he might just lose the medevac back. Looks like he will with that last shot. Oh, that's not a good start. That is a pretty devastating start, I'm going to be honest.
I mean, we even talked about this earlier, where in the last game, it was really important that he keeps those medevacs alive, because otherwise he has to replenish those medevacs or just completely give them up, and he cuts into his Viking production, which was pretty important in that last game. We do have a second Banshee on the way over here for HeroMarine, which is going to work out, I think, okay. There's no missile turrets down or anything. There's a lot of scan energy saved up, though, so we'll see how effective they can be. Ooh, did the Hellion actually catch a glimpse of that Banshee?
Add-on complete. I
don't know. I mean, the engineer base is finished up for upgrades. We don't see any turrets going down, so I don't know that he actually saw the Banshee. Let's not forget, too, he's probably feeling pretty good having caught that medevac early on. I'm hoping there's not going to be too much cockiness. Yeah, the 2 SCVs getting caught is really unfortunate. Yeah, that happens a lot. It's like, okay, it's understandable one gets in there, but for both to get caught like that, that really sucks.
It's so funny, too, because it's like, with Terran, you also have a random chance on which side they'll end up finishing the building on, right?
Yeah, it's just super baby rage, never lucky moments.
There is RNG in StarCraft. Alright, well, the Banshee comes in with natural
what?
Gonna be able to kill off at least a couple of workers. The Marines are pretty slow because they don't actually have stim just yet, so this Banshee should be able to kite against them and start to take them out slowly but surely. Scan goes down, and the Vikings take out the other Banshee on the south side. The Banshee on the north side is gonna survive for a little bit longer.
Well, 4 workers dead is not terrible, but it's also not great. The other thing, too, is like having that Viking count revealed at any point. Suddenly your opponent's like, okay, I guess now I got to start making Vikings too, and you won't get that advantage that you necessarily want to. Keep in mind, MarineLorD was hiding his Vikings in that first game. Kind of got the surprise element out of it.
Yeah, I guess my question is, and it's sort of answered now, is when does MarineLorD start to remake some of those medevacs that he ended up losing? He does have one medevac out, but if you are going to be planning to get up stim, as both players are getting up stim, and you want to stim up those Marines, which is pretty damn important in this matchup, you do want to make sure you have some medevacs to heal them back up, but losing those early medevacs to say the Cyclone and everything else, it does mean you need to find some time to produce those before you start getting into big engagements. And it does, again, cut into your Viking production. Vikings are really important for zoning out your opponent's, Vikings, but most importantly, those medevacs for lifting up the siege tanks as well.
Yeah.
Well, all the upgrades finishing up just slightly earlier for MarineLorD. I've got to say, like, it's small little things, but MarineLorD just seems to be, throughout these games, slightly further ahead on all those builds. It's not a significant lead, it's not anything that'll matter a huge amount, but it just shows, like, that extra little bit of refinement in his builds. Always being, like, 5 to 10 seconds ahead on finishing things up.
Well, at the moment, we do have quite the Marine count for HeroMarine, but I'm really curious whether that Banshee and that Cyclone are going to get used for much. I mean, the Cyclone built defensively is something you're always going to want to do, but I'm really curious more so on whether that Banshee's going to have another role in the game. Cyclone's just patrolling around the north side of the map, of course, hoping to catch some medevacs, which would be nice.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good use of it also, because especially with how often you end up seeing, like, the big scary medevac drops, or even just small little medevac drops coming in. You can always at least delay the medevac drop from coming into your main base. You force the unload to take out the Cyclone. It's almost just worth it in that regard. Alright, well, we're starting to finally see some more of the factories being plopped down over here for MarineLorD, as he starts to realize, okay, time to start getting out that siege tank production, kick into high gear. Waiting to see when, I guess actually, yeah, HeroMarine already has the same thing going underway. Sort of interesting. I always wonder when Terran players start to build their production facilities outside of their main base. They start to build it at, like, say, the 3rd expansion. I understand it with, like, barracks or something, but Really interesting whenever I see it with factories or starports. Alright, Marine's getting cleaned up on the left-hand side by the Cyclone, as well as the Banshee. I guess the Banshee does not actually have any energy left over, though, to go cloak around and be sneaky, so gonna have to be a bit careful. A lot of these siege tanks loaded up.
One note here, I guess, that we haven't talked about. HeroMarine's actually got no sensor towers because they still have no idea this is coming until it's probably too late. He's going to have some luck here with one Marine accidentally finding it, but he's still not in position just yet. He brings his tanks over now. Big tank lead for MarineLorD coming into this fight. Both players are more than just 5 Vikings, 8 and 7 apiece, but as the Marines stim in, MarineLorD's the one who doesn't have all his Marines on the front line. Some of them in the backside, actually. A lot of his army separated, and he takes a terrible engagement because of it.
MarineLorD forced back, and you know, surprisingly enough, HeroMarine does manage to hold on and takes a small little lead over there. The Vikings are going to be able to chase down some of these medevacs if they are not careful. They need to boost out of there, keep themselves alive. MarineLorD, of course, going into a player that had defender's advantage, has a lot of reinforcements left back at home that were not able to participate in the fight, but nice job by HeroMarine. He does have his 4th expansion canceled, but at the end of the day, still walks out of there alive.
Let's not forget, we got to put a small asterisk on the fact that there was a bit of hashtag luck there for HeroMarine. Like, his Marine going out at the time it did, if it had gone out even 1 second later, he may not have even had his tanks in position to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, Marine moves out once again, is going to be able to scout out the army, so once again moves into position. But here's the thing, MarineLorD also knows that the Marine saw him, so question is, does he actually decide to commit in over here? He's got to be careful, because if he doesn't decide soon, he may just be facing down the barrel of all those Vikings and the siege tanks pretty soon.
Well, both players keeping up on upgrades. MarineLorD looking to take a fight. Tanks down on the ground first means he gets first shots, and unfortunately, Marines get obliterated. This is actually a pretty good trade for MarineLorD this time around. Unfortunately, though, neither player really has any Marines, so continuing to push forward out of the question is there's nothing to stop those Vikings from zoning out the siege tanks. By just unsieging them to walk away, it looks uncanny, it looks unconventional, but absolutely necessary.
But I don't know if this is going to be a safe retreat, because now the medevacs can just chase down these siege tanks, and with the siege tanks going down, that's going to be a pretty big loss. There's now almost a double siege tank count for MarineLorD, or sorry, for HeroMarine. Yeah, but that was a situation where he didn't really have a choice about it, right? Like, that was his tanks were either going to die in the medevacs, they're going to die on the ground. He had to take a risk either way. Yeah, absolutely. There is a double medevac drop on the left-hand side of the map, as well as a single Marine trying to just slowly pick away at that 4th expansion. We'll see if HeroMarine's going to be taking too much damage from that double drop, as he does move in. He might be able to get on top of the production facilities, maybe start to take out a tech lab or a reactor or something, just to halt some of that production. Killing off a siege tank would also be nice. Yeah, do a nice job. And actually, surprisingly enough, pulling HeroMarine back. Yeah, it's actually a little bit surprising. It seemed like he was being able to handle it with just the production that was popping out, even if it was losing some of the units, but I guess he doesn't want to overstay his welcome, since a lot of his reinforcements were being kept back, whereas he'd be up against the reinforcements of MarineLorD immediately. Yeah, that's true. Well, that drop gonna try and sneak on in. The natural base is for the most part unguarded this time around. A lot of focus elsewhere on the map. Both players have moved on to 4 bases at this point, which is kind of nice, so no one's really sitting or struggling for the monies, but this is still a situation where no one's really in a terrible spot just yet. Like, okay, these army clashes have been going kind of both ways. No one's really thrown the game and thrown away an army. I do want to point out the actual unit count, though, like almost dead even. Like, maybe not in terms of like 50 Marines to 35 Marines, but the Viking count's similar, the tank count's similar, the medevac count's similar. Of course, Marines are going to fluctuate. They're your cheapest, most flexible units, I guess you could say. But I really expected somebody to be really behind on tanks after all these fights, like MarineLorD especially after that last one. Yeah, only 3 siege tanks behind, but it really does seem like it's going to come down a lot more to positioning, angle of engagement, who drops their siege tanks first, all the fun stuff that happens in TvT, and siege tanks are down faster for MarineLorD. He is going to stem up, but he's going to be outside the range of his own siege tanks. His Marine count is going to get obliterated there. The fight started off really well for him, and the tanks were really awkwardly stuck in the medevacs, badly controlled by HeroMarine, but then MarineLorD overextended. Classic TvT moments right there. As things keep progressing, though, like, we got players still upgrading their mechs, so the tanks are going to become more deadly as time goes on. We finally have sensor towers up for both players, so nobody should get caught totally off guard.
But we do have a base lead now for MarineLorD.
Yeah, establishing that forward expansion. We'll have to see if he can take an engagement, though, because if he can't, he's not going to be able to defend it. Siege tanks are now under fire from the Marines. Marines being split up a little bit just to make sure they aren't taking too much damage. And the Viking count reigns supreme for HeroMarine. No retreat out of there. And now suddenly this expansion that he took, the forward expansion, is going to be incredibly vulnerable if it weren't for the fact that he was also pushing along the left-hand side.
This back attack, I mean, there's a sensor tower there. He knew it was coming. It's just unfortunate he didn't really have units to position to deal with this. And the tanks are sieged up for MarineLorD, excuse me. So a little bit awkward as he picks up and walks away like he's going to chase down this medevacs. MarineLorD finding the opportunity to even invest in building armor. It sounds silly that it looks a bit funny, but it's actually going to be great for that planetary fortress. When you're playing against other bio players, this basically guarantees there's not going to be Marine drops picking off your base where you're not looking. It's going to be a dedicated push for tanks, and even then, SCV is going to be repairing the crap out of that thing that has extra armor.
This is definitely becoming a tricky situation, I think, for MarineLorD very, very quickly. I feel like the Viking count just makes it so punishing every single time that MarineLorD tries to take an engagement. He loses all of his medevacs, so he loses a ton of them. You can see it's 12-4, and that really does make a difference in the siege tanks and being able to reposition them, as well as, of course, re-healing the stimmed up units, but losing a lot of the Vikings over there. HeroMarine gonna lose a bit of that big advantage that he had. Well, good spread out over here from HeroMarine. Gonna be able to take out tons of the siege tanks from MarineLorD, and it looks like that's gonna be enough. GG gets called. HeroMarine
ties up 1-1. Nicely done.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, ties it up 1-1. Of course, this is a best of 5 in the round of 16 right now for DreamHack Montreal. The winner of this series is going to end up facing off versus the winner of the current mainstream game, which is Major versus Violet. Could be seeing yet another TvT, depending on whether Major wins. And it looks like that series is also tied up 1-1, so we're continuing the trend of only ever having two 3-0s. Two 3-0s, of course, across the entire day. Actually, no. I guess Neve versus Peely Peely was a 3-0 also. So that was 3 3-0s yesterday. Yeah, but we didn't really end up keeping that the quote-unquote curse.
Oh, god damn it. It's Dawson Station for map 3.
Yes. Okay. This is what I want, because you know what? No, I don't think anyone knows what happens in this map for TvT. Although, I don't know. Like, I feel like Terrans are the players that probably don't need to strike Dawson Station.
I can tell you this much. You're not taking the gold base quick. Even if you break down those rocks, you can have a bad time.
I still hold the stance that I think in most matchups you should not take the gold base quickly, but I don't know. I keep seeing pro players do it, and I keep seeing pro players get punished for it. Just gonna say that. Just gonna leave it at that. We're hopping on to Dawson Station. We'll see you guys there. All right, here we are. Probably for the third time this entire event, as far as I'm aware. We're on Dawson Station. Spun down here in the bottom rightish corner of the map, we've got the blue Terran player. Give it up for HeroMarine.
And his opponent in the middle left is going to be none other than Millennium's MarineLorD. Things tied up now 1-1. And I know there's been a lot of complaints about this since yesterday, but do you know if there's any way to turn the game sounds up a bit, maybe?
Oh, yeah, sure, I can do that.
I don't know if this will solve everyone's problems or not, but I've seen this request multiple times across 2 days, so we'll give it a shot and see how it goes.
Yeah. Usually I audio balance it a little bit earlier, so let me know if it ends up being too loud. Alright, well, no surprise in the fact that both players are going to be going for a 1-1-1 opening on this map because, well, hold on. Okay, HeroMarine just building Supply Depot. I was a little bit afraid he was sending SCV to go build a CC at the gold.
This would be a map, though, where I would really expect that classic 2 Reaper and a Hellion end to a game to come into play. I say that mostly just based on the fact that this is such a short rush distance, at least can be such a short rush distance.
Yeah, definitely. This is also one of the few maps that I think if the Reapers just moved out right now, they'd engage, like, it'd be one of the few times that I feel like we end up seeing in a TvT where the Reapers could engage before the Hellions actually pop out for your opponent. Well, it looks like MarineLorD's going to be the first one to move out and try and get some scouting information. Maybe just confirming that his opponent's not going for the gold. And he should be able to make it up into the main base, confirm what's out there. But will be soon found out by the two Reapers. The nice thing over here, though, for MarineLorD is that there's a lot of area for him to escape out the back door. Although he kind of ends up somewhat trapping himself. Oh my god, he got trapped by the Ursidon!
God damn it, Blizzard.
Wait a second, did he just get trapped by the Ursidon? Or did he just happen to stop
I don't actually know if there's pathing issues with critters or not, but it looked like he was trapped by the Ursidon, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure if you click past a critter and a critter's blocking the way, they just move out of the way. It's sort of like an unheld position zealot or something at a choke point.
Well, either way, it looked like a scumbag, so we'll blame it.
Damn it. Alright, well, HeroMarine's still going to have a small little unit lead over here. He tries to push up the ramp, but he is pushing through a choke point and immediately gets punished for it.
Beautiful cleanup by MarineLorD.
I really hope he doesn't just immediately repeat the mistake that his opponent made and just like try and charge up the ramp right into more Hellions. But I guess there's only one Hellion out, and the tech lab is being built on the factory right now, so there's not actually a lot that HeroMarine can do. Oh, until the Banshee comes out at least. But
the Banshee's an interesting choice as well. We do have a Viking being made first out of his opponents, so it's not going to get too crazy out of hand.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing I will say about the Banshee is, yeah, it's not going to play as big of an effect right now. It might be able to get a kill or two here and there, but if he keeps that alive, this map is fantastic for stuff like Banshee harassment, just because it's such a long distance for ground units to make it between the 3 different bases. Whichever third expansion you decide to go for, there are a lot of options. And really only the Vikings can appropriately respond to the Banshee and actually chase it down very easily. Oh, okay, there it is. 4 kills, definitely not too bad, especially if he ends up keeping the Banshee alive through a scan. Oh. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that anymore, though. Oh. That was a little bit of a mistake, but not actually even able to get any more SCVs after those 4 at the natural expansion. Refinery able to keep those SCVs alive a little bit longer. Is going to be following this up with yet another Banshee, though, so really is committing to this. He didn't end up getting Cloak as far... No, he did. Sorry, he did end up getting Cloak. What am I talking about? The Raven's going to be coming out over here from MarineLorD, so he shouldn't have to use up any scans. In fact, he's going to be able to chase this down until he encounters the Marines. Auto turret, killing off 2 Marines. I guess that's one way to use up the energy. But there's an abnormally large number of Hellions for MarineLorD. He did not stop that Hellion production. And he's going to try and push in over here against siege tanks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here wondering, like, is MarineLorD straight up going mech at this rate?
Yeah, it sort of feels that way. What are
repair,
these SCVs
I think.
doing?
Or no?
Is he
more than repairing? He's actually straight up playing SCVs to go with this.
Is this an all in?
I don't know. Here, Dragon, this is actually really weird. I don't
He's
know
not even repairing. He's just attacking with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't really understand what that was about.
Okay, well, the Banshee is continuing to get more damage done. It does get chased back by the Vikings and the Raven. Oddly enough,
7 SCVs go down, but 7 SCVs were his lead. So weirdly enough, I guess it's an acceptable loss. Depot goes down, tanks and some shots fired. Dawson Station is a weird map, just through and through.
Yeah, but this is just being way even weirder than it should be. Vikings landing. Okay, that Vikings landing versus the Siege Tanks. I don't know how well this is gonna work.
I think MarineLorD's actually losing this.
I think. Okay, I'm not gonna call this super early, but is MarineLorD just tilting and throwing the game?
I really don't know. Like, there's so many question marks I have, and that SCV pool is at the top of the list. This Banshee on the top side also just kind of picking away with nothing to stop it. It's got no health, just staying outside of the range of the turret.
Oh man, I mean, he would have been able to deal with the Banshee if he didn't land those Vikings to try and deal with the siege tanks that weren't even at his main base. It wasn't even at the ramp yet. I think that if he had just waited a little bit longer, he could have added more reinforcements, could have tried to hold the ramp. Especially if you're gonna have Hellions. Like, look, I know Hellions don't do a lot of damage to siege tanks, but at least if you engage at the ramp, they're gonna be taking splash damage.
Yeah, I would. Not that it'd be funny, haha, but it would be interesting, funny if the Ursidon block earlier.
Just tilted him.
The thing's at 2 health, by the way. What attacked an Ursidon to get it to 2 health?
Reaper Grenade, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Reaper Grenade does 10 damage.
Wait, that's a good question. Wait, maybe they accidentally clicked on the Ursidon and attacked it with a Marine. No, there weren't any Marines. I don't think there's been a Marine this game. Okay, there's been 1 Marine. It died. 12 Marines.
Well, Marine, no, hang on. Marine does 6 damage then. The Ursidon would have 4 health then.
Reaper does 4 damage, right?
Yeah, but he didn't attack it twice. That's for certain.
Ooh.
Whatever, not important. Middle of the map, Widowmine gets a decent shot. It's going to get scanned, but this army out of HeroMarine, well, not crazy large in supply, is pretty good in just the concentration of what it is. Look, there's no anti-air. And his Viking's going to get camped coming out of the starport. That tank's going to slowly go down.
Oh.
I mean, right now we're seeing one of the biggest weaknesses, that is mech.
Uh-huh.
I like the idea of trying to go mech. Don't get me wrong. I don't think like MarineLorD picking mech is like throwing the game, but it is something where it's not working out in this situation. Although HeroMarine just made a mistake with his Vikings not being positioned together, so looks like MarineLorD will be able to break this really weird siege.
Yeah, looks like there was a lot of damage happening on the other side of the map as well, as HeroMarine was able to at least equalize some of the working count, but he's going to be losing a lot more. Blue Flame Hellions for MarineLorD trying to clean up the siege tanks. It looks like he will eventually be able to, especially with the landed Vikings, but it does come at a pretty big cost.
Let me get to the dead side of that tank real quick. This is such a weird game. This is such a weird, wonderful, terrible, just amazing game. Vikings in the sky actually can't fight. They're all almost dead. They're going to run away from this. Looks like HeroMarine is going to get away with just a little bit too much. And even though Thor pops out, Marines are going to have no problem taking it on. GG gets called. HeroMarine takes game number 3.
I'm convinced there is something in the air or the atmosphere for Dasan Station. It's like, you know, something in the water. It just drives people insane. It just drives people to madness.
Spike the Kool-Aid.
I'm not sure if I'm hoping that the next game will be more normal, or if I'm okay with how weird that game was. Sort of in between state right now.
I mean, again, I just want to emphasize a lot of the weirdness comes from the fact that he was playing mech. It's not that he was playing stupid or badly or anything like that. The mech aspect of it was just a little bit, I think, I'm going to say unrefined for that map. Here, MarineLorD's build is perfectly fine if HeroMarine plays a much more passive style.
It's not necessarily like the builds or anything that was really strange to me. It was more just like the engagements that he chose to take. Like the SCV thing was one thing. Like landing his Vikings to try and like desperately take out the siege tanks before they got over to his natural expansion, even though would have been in the gold expansion, where I feel like he may have had a better chance defending once they got over there. There's just like small little things like that. Dropping the auto turret versus like 10 Marines, when he could have saved up that energy and maybe used it a little bit later on. But of course, I'm not a Terran player, so I'm not going to judge too hard. I'm gonna trust that he knows a little bit better than I do, but we're gonna hop into Frost for game number 4. We'll see you guys there. Okay, here we are in game number 4 as we start down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map atop the red Terran player, currently leading up the series 2-1. Give it up for HeroMarine.
And his opponent in the bottom right, colored blue representing Millennium, it's MarineLorD.
Is it me or do they keep changing colors? Like,
Yeah, they do. And it's
every
kind of
game.
annoying, but whatever.
yeah. I just only noticed it because I feel like yesterday they were pretty consistent about the colors. They were pretty consistently like telling players like, no, can you please pick your red? Can you please pick blue? Now today it's just like everywhere. Oh well. Okay, so Frost, definitely one of the maps that can sometimes lead toward more long-term play, but third expansions on this map I feel like get a little bit weird, just especially since I feel like I've seen some Terran players, even with these spawn positions, try to grab, I think we actually even saw it yesterday, trying to grab that more forward third expansion that can get easily abused by the high ground, and that does sort of concern me when players do that, because it just makes it so easy to siege up, to do a lot of damage, and to shut it down completely.
Yes, I didn't really catch the gravity just now, but just realized, like, yeah, this could also be the end of somebody's tournament run right here, or will be the end of somebody's tournament run right here, and it's just weird for me to consider that it might be MarineLorD.
He's definitely one of those players that I think a lot of people consider to be one of the better Terran players in Europe. I mean, MarineLorD was the one that ended up doing the all kill of Korea in Nation Wars, right?
Everyone knows that was just luck and server based, obviously.
Of course. No skill involved.
CC kind of off center says chat. Yeah, so that's the nice thing about playing Terran. If somebody blocks you or is being annoying, you can just literally build it elsewhere and say, I'm not going to deal with this.
No, I think it might have been an accident. It might have not realized that it was slightly off center. You know,
maybe. Either way,
it's like 1 or 2 hexes off. Maybe like
either
5.
way, it's something easily corrected as a Terran.
Yeah. All right. Well, Starport gonna be going up. Both these players going for just a 1-1-1 opening with a command center behind it. Nothing super duper crazy, but I'm trying to remember. I know that in the last game it was MarineLorD that ended up going, or sorry, HeroMarine that ended up going for the Banshee opening. It looks like this game it may end up being MarineLorD. Seems like one of the players end up getting the Tech Lab and the Starport. HeroMarine not opting to do it this game. MarineLorD looks like he's giving up that Tech Lab, but it may just be for the factory pretty soon. And the Reaper actually finding us a SC vehicle. That actually doesn't happen that often. Next on the other side of the map, Hellions and the Reaper also able to get at least a little bit of damage done. Not quite able to kill anything off just yet, and it looks like they will be forced back by the Marines, but still just doing a little bit of harassment, getting what damage done they can. Some scouting information as well. Nothing super significant, but oh, actually getting some really nice Reaper grenades over there. Should be able to at least do a little bit more damage with the Cyclone. Having that armored ability or armored attribute does mean that Hellions really just don't do much damage to them, and he's gonna be able to actually chase these down. Well, I guess losing vision thanks to the sight blockers. Tech Lab does go back onto the Starport though. It's not going to be making a Banshee or anything or a super delayed one. It's going to be a Raven instead. Sort of interesting. I guess he gets out 1 Viking for his own safety, then follows up with a Raven just in case.
Well, you know, I like the Raven for a lot of different reasons. I think the number one being, however, that you get not just the safety through detection and all that jazz, but the auto turrets are so good now. We saw a little bit of it last game. It didn't come too much of an effect, but we watched one auto turret almost take on a tank. I mean, it is so much damage so quickly now.
All right, well, sort of interesting. HeroMarine not just stopping at 1 Cyclone, just produce 2 of them. I guess this is nice if he's just gonna continue poking at the front. Theoretically, you should just be able to continuously kill Hellions or whatever other units pop out in the front besides a siege tank. And he's getting a decent amount of damage done over here. He's gonna wait out that auto turret and try not to engage into it too far, but the Cyclone's sitting at the front line. SCV is being pulled, which does do pretty well versus tanking Cyclone damage. The medevac seems like it's gonna get picked off though, and that should put an end to the pushing over here. 5 workers killed off.
This was him. He tried really hard to get not enough damage done. I'm not sure about that dedication out of HeroMarine. The Cyclones, of course, do have a bit of an expiration. They don't work after a certain time in the game just because they are such flimsy units, but early on, this is the best and I guess most opportune time to use them.
Yeah, I sort of wonder though, like, would they be better off as drop defense as we ended up seeing, or I guess just saving it for
I don't know.
a little...
It is a force supply unit. Like, you don't want to have that idle somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. When I think of like supply inefficiency, I usually just think of it as, well,
Roaches?
well, yeah, I do think of roaches, but I usually think like it only hurts to just lose the unit or like sacrifice it early on. It only really matters if it's super supply inefficient when you actually get to the point where you're maxed out, right?
I guess, but still, it's just a lot of unit you don't want to leave leaving around. A whole lot of woman.
I can understand the feeling. Couple more barracks going down. Got Stim, 1-1. Well, yeah, 1-1 going up for both these players. Nothing's too surprising. This really is following the same sort of trend as we've seen in all of the games except for Dasan Station, where players slowly do small little bits of pressure to each other, but nothing super significant happens in the early game. Although there is a very significant Viking lead right now from MarineLorD.
Yeah, and that's going to really hurt HeroMarine here. Yeah, we saw that awkward game number 3 out of MarineLorD. I'm kind of feeling it's somewhat similar here now for HeroMarine. That opening fight, the way he's not able to take disengagement here. The error control's huge out of MarineLorD, just establishing his spot. Let's not forget, anything that comes to stop these tanks, auto turret's going to go down. Auto turret's going to be able to hold on.
And there they are, going to be able to halt those tanks for at least a little bit. Also sniping off one of the medevacs with the Vikings. Might be able to snipe off both of them.
That was really clever to come from behind. I actually really like that. I would not have thought of that. That was really well handled on MarineLorD. And now as we see, HeroMarine. Now as we see, MarineLorD's going to be able to, he's going to have to run away.
Yeah, he doesn't have to run away, but I mean, I think he already took his toll. He killed off a reactor on the starport, loses one Viking, sure, but also kills off 2 medevacs, kills off a siege tank or 2. Definitely puts him in a really nice lead. And even beyond that, SCV count's not a huge deal, but still, sitting up 16 workers in a mirror matchup is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, HeroMarine, you can take a look at the just unit counts. He is leading up in Marines by quite a bit, so definitely living up to the Marine name of the two. And he may be able to do a big push out across the map and just take advantage of the fact that 12 Marines really isn't that much of a buffer for MarineLorD. Even if they have even siege tank counts, the siege tanks from MarineLorD are just going to be dying very, very quickly. I think that MarineLorD's just still going to be relying on those Vikings to try and halt the progression of those siege tanks and the medevacs, but he's losing his Vikings. This might actually just end up turning around very quickly for MarineLorD. And just suddenly he's losing his third.
It's been such a weird game of engagements for HeroMarine. I don't know. But it does go well for him. He pushes back that third. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, pushes back the entire army. MarineLorD finally has a slightly larger number of Marines. They can defend the top of this ramp, but losing that third expansion, or at least having it delayed from mining for a little bit. Well, a lot of the Marines over here for HeroMarine not exactly getting involved in the fight, so siege tanks are going to be cleaned up. And MarineLorD finally pushes this army back for the most part. I guess he still keeps 2 of the Vikings alive, which is going to be nice for some air control. But this is just, I feel like both these players just keep trading their armies back and forth, keep trading their advantages away to the other person.
Yeah, and while that's not exactly a terrible thing, because that is the nature of TvT, I do want to point out that the on the back end of all this like army fighting, this has really been like almost a secret economy war. As most games, almost no workers go down. The fact that 15 died for MarineLorD kind of had a different setting for him going into all these fights. Like, it wasn't simply enough to trade out evenly. He did have to get small leads so he can catch up on either the base or get those SCVs built back up. And I mean, now they're both on 3 bases. Their economies are pretty much evenly matched. No one's got too great of an income lead except for the mules being dropped here and there. And I guess that's where the army evens out. So now we come down to that point where you've got these fights going in very particular orders. Yeah,
one sort of other interesting thing is that HeroMarine, just because of all the engagements going on, did neglect his armory for quite a bit of time. His 1-1 finished up a while ago, but you can see 50 seconds in, MarineLord's gonna have his 2-2
Yeah.
finish up way before, a full minute before HeroMarine can even get it started.
That could actually be some pretty big problems. I talked about this earlier. We didn't really see it yet, but just that reminder that even like one level of upgrades, and I'm not even talking like 2-2 over 1-1, but like 2-2 over 1-2 or something like that. Like that can make a huge world of difference when it comes to the way the Marines interact with each other.
Oh, but he's got to survive to that point.
It is a bit of a potential base trade here as MarineLord's got a big chunk of his army on the other side of the field and not here able to fight. SCVs get pulled into this to soak some damage, but the production of HeroMarine has been completely cut out. What he has is what he's going to have, and it doesn't look good if that's going to be the case for a full-on base trade.
Yeah, I mean, HeroMarine ends up losing so many of his own units in this base trade just in trying to break through. He doesn't actually have that many Marines left over. And yeah, he's got some siege tanks, he's got the medevacs, but compared to MarineLord's army, which by the way is soon to be on 2-2, if he lets those engineering base finish the upgrades,
those 2-2 finish, that's going to be massive for a very small army fight like this.
I don't think he even knows the engineering base are there. He's going to be too busy focusing on these buildings that are retreating. It's going to finish.
Okay, so this is not how I would have expected this game to go.
All right, taking a look at the unit counting station, since that's going to be one of the most important things right now. There is a small siege tank lead right now for HeroMarine. He's got 8 siege tanks to the 6 right now of MarineLord. Marine counts are relatively even. Medevac counts are pretty close. Small lead for MarineLord, but it really is going to be about the fact that the upgrades are the huge difference right now. Not just for the Marines, but even for the siege tanks are going to be doing a lot more damage. I guess. Wait, where
this one, 'cause either player could really mess this up still.
Wait a
buildings
second.
floating, buildings building, everybody just running away
not
from
floating.
fire.
HeroMarine's not floating any of his orbitals. If he doesn't lift that third orbital,
he's still able to mine though. He doesn't need to lift it just yet. And even if he does lift it, he might not be able to get away. He knows there's Vikings to chase it. For MarineLord,
there aren't any. Oh, there are 2 Vikings. Yeah.
For MarineLord though, what's interesting is you look at the bottom. There's like 9 barracks down there in a factory. You look at the north. He's just built 3 more barracks and he's trying to get those orbitals set up. I really think MarineLord's got this game. It would be a hard throw because he's got upgrades, he's got numbers, he's got everything going in his favor.
Yeah, and it looks like he's even managing to delay and halt out MarineLord or HeroMarine from actually pushing it over here to this other expansion. Orbital command is gonna get focus fire down. Wait, this is the last orbital command, I think. Oh, MarineLord could be in a lot of trouble. Those Vikings are going to be so important for him now.
The orbital, though, it's not about a game of recovery. Nobody's mining, nobody's macroing. It comes down to army. And look at the units tab right now. It's 27 Marines to 15 with 2-2 over 1-1.
I mean, I agree to some extent, but there is a concern about the tie game situation where if you do end up losing those Vikings, suddenly your opponent can just force a draw, right? By floating the buildings to the corner.
That's true. That's very true. I don't know if we'll see that be the case or not, but command center being built in the top left. Nothing to really attack it just yet.
And we're at that point right now where I guess it's no orbital commands existing right now for either player, but they're both building them right now.
Is there any part on Frost where you could float a building?
Yeah, it's the corner over where MarineLord's barracks are right now in the top right. It's like over on that little edge.
Oh. Yeah, I guess maybe. Fight on the left side, you can catch a lot of the depots. Of course, the production. We do have command centers being built for both players, though, so we're still not in that stalemate territory just yet.
Actually, there might even be more places for the stalemate, just because the Marines have 5 range. I was thinking about like with Stalkers at 6 range, but oh, this engagement is
It's awkward because the tanks don't actually take a very good fight, but with the Marines all disappearing from HeroMarine side, he's going to be the one to tap out. And we are going to go to the ace match in the Ultimate Marine fight.
Oh my.
I think we should toss up to a quick break.
Wait, no, HeroMarine was up 2-1, wasn't he? Oh, sorry, it was MarineLord, sorry. Whoops. These colors. Okay, here we are in the match point game. Get your ace matches out in the chat if you're a BaseTradeTV sub, because here we are in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, atop of the blue Terran player, representing Team Millennium. Give it up for MarineLord.
And as I don't have my camera on yours, my bad, the wrong person. The top left, it is going to be the Red Terran HeroMarine.
Happened to me the other day with Zombie Grub. I waited there for like 10 seconds. I was like, Zombie Grub, you're not changing the camera. Like, what are you doing? It's like, all right,
Luckily I figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
One of the things that's going to be interesting, okay, so first off, this series goes to the ace match, but it goes to the ace match in a really weird set of like game 3 and game 4. In fact, game 1 and game 2 are pretty much exactly the TvT I think I would expect from these players at a tournament like this, with the quality, etc. Game 3 with that weird mech thing on Dawson Station. Game 4 just now with the Cyclone push leading into like a base trade into a weird. I love that this series went from normal to weird really quick, and I'm really curious if Game 5 is going to go back to normal or if it's going to maintain its status quo of weird.
Well, how do you usually feel about like this kind of map, King Sejong Station? Since I think this map does tend to change the way people end up playing out different matchups on this.
This is a bit awkward.
Okay. The repair gonna be enough. Should be able to clean up that Marine or SCV.
Your repairing is so stupid. You need to do a useless facts thing on like what can be repaired through. For example, like one Reaper shooting an SCV, that can be repaired through. Apparently, one Banshee on top of a tank with 5 SCVs can be repaired. Like, you need to get those useless facts and turn them into useful facts, man.
That sounds too useful for me. That's not in my scope anymore. Reaper.
Not my style, man. Not how I do.
Reaper's gonna come over here. Almost gets a snipe off on the SCV, but not quite. Chased off by HeroMarine's Reaper. Oh, nice grenade. Gonna be able to push that back. I don't think it's actually even in vision range anymore, but he's gonna try and flank it with the second Reaper. And really nice chase over here. HeroMarine's doing a good job. I think he's actually gonna be able to corner this. Almost. Not quite. Well, either way, we do have a really quick third command center coming down right now, and Reaper does end up going down, but HeroMarine, like I said, going for a really quick third CC. I think this is one of those maps that, as long as you can defend this sort of central choke point over here, and you're prepared, you have some vision of this left-hand side, then it can be much easier to defend a third expansion. The same sort of thing goes, of course, for both players in this kind of area, making sure you can just keep control of this area and keep vision of that general vicinity. But in this matchup, TvT, King Sejong Station, you do always have to be a little bit worried about those backdoor rocks and being sieged up from the backside, not being prepared.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. Just know what race you're playing against, or what race you are, as long as you're playing against Terran at some point, that could get abused. But things like Cyclones and Banshees and Vikings, they all make it so it's not so bad. But I'm just... First off, I like the third CC actually quite a bit. It's greedy, it's risky, and it's something to do in game number 5 of all games, I give some respect for. Problem is, though, it does leave you open. And if MarineLorD realizes that this is the case and he is going to dedicate to any sort of attack, like, yeah, that's 400 minerals you don't have in defending units.
Marine drop comes across the map, joined in with 4 Hellions at the front, so this could maybe do a little bit of damage considering HeroMarine's mostly just consisting of purely Marines right now. He's not actually making anything else out of that starport besides that one Viking that he made. Viking not going to be in position to deal with the drop immediately, so this could get some damage done. Third expansion also gets found out. MarineLorD drops in. Marines are all clumped up right now, though, so he probably wants to split those up for the Hellions. Looks like he's going to be okay. Gonna be able to kill off a decent chunk of Marines as well as SCVs over here. Losing the medevac, I think, does sort of sting, though. I don't really know if that drop did enough damage for MarineLorD to really be happy with it. Hellions coming to the natural expansion, though. Gonna be able to kill off a couple more workers. Killing off the Cyclone. And gonna be able to get out of there alive with the medevac. That's definitely a little bit nicer. I think he even makes it out of there with most of the Hellions. The third CC comes down behind this for MarineLorD, just playing a little bit of catch up, and both these players just going to be getting started with some of that other production, the siege tank production most importantly. But I want to note, MarineLorD does have a pretty nice lead in that siege tank production. There have been 0 siege tanks produced so far for HeroMarine. Finally starting up the first one, but he's going to be a solid 3 siege tanks behind, which can make a big difference, especially considering it's not just the siege tanks, it's also the Viking count that he's behind on.
Well, it's for now not gonna be that big of a deal because you gotta consider like 3 siege tanks. You're gonna be without 3 medevacs to support them, right? So it's not the end of the world by any means. But I don't know. This is kind of I like the medevac Emery on the side. We'll see if we can get some damage done. HeroMarine's actually completely out of position as he does go to guard his new found third. In fact, in the main there are 4 Vikings, but they're actually not in position to catch this medevac, which is gonna kind of suck because that would be a freebie.
Yeah, 4 Vikings should have been able to set this off pretty quickly, but, well, looks like they do reposition. They're going to at least be able to know that the medevac's there. I don't know if they can actually, they're going to bother to hunt it down all the way.
Just want to get like that Reaper clip from Overwatch. Repositioning.
Yeah, looks like they do finally pull back.
Okay, well, Stim coming up, and game kind of goes back to like its normal pacing. To go back on the siege tank thing you discussed earlier, you look at the numbers, it's not so different anymore. And again, like, if you're spending gas this early on Vikings or siege tanks, you're not spending it on medevacs. And when you go to spend on medevacs, you can't spend it on the tanks again. So it is just a matter of priorities and getting things evened up in that regard. Not a problem.
Yeah, like you were saying, they are relatively evened out. Small little edges for HeroMarine, but nothing super significant anymore. Either way, though, I've got to say, MarineLorD does have some pretty nice map vision. Just like map controlling his own like watchtowers, having Marines out on the map just to spot for anything. Whereas it does feel like HeroMarine is the one that's much further pushed back, really just relying on occasional scans and maybe very, very occasionally sending out like some of his Vikings to scout or something like that. He's much more defensive.
Yeah, that Viking count's pretty high. 6 is something to actually talk about. The reason you tend to stop around 5 has a lot to do with the way you're balancing your gas for medevacs and tanks. The fact that he's gone hot to 6, not like, oh my god, it's not the end of the world, but that's like 1 less medevac. That's like 1 less tank you can really afford. I will say, though, at least he's keeping his upgrades on par with his opponent. Not that he has any way to measure this, but it is important not to fall behind. We saw just how badly the upgrades affected that last game.
Yeah, good that he's keeping on top of those upgrades. And both of them also going to be going for the mech upgrades as well, which is pretty important thing that I believe it was HeroMarine ended up neglecting that last game.
I hate our chat and I hate our mods right now so much. Okay, looks like the mainstreams finished their match, by the way, so that's pretty cool to see. Of course, again, we'll be doing Wellmo versus Mana after this, a PvP. So mirror matchup and a mirror matchup. But our last 2 matches of the day are actually pretty awesome. We have Pult versus Tudaming and a Laser versus Drogo. I'm actually most excited for a Laser versus Drogo. I think that's actually going to be the best matchup of the day for us, hopefully and ideally.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Comet Shell's not done just yet for either player, but MarineLorD's is pretty close. No real big engagements on the horizon, but there is that drop over on that left side. 2 big drops waiting to go in. Outside of the sensor tower, there is a missile turret in the main looking to catch them, but still 2 medevacs can get past 1 turret pretty easily.
Alien on the right
This is
side.
scary though, because like that's a large portion of his army out. There we go. He's got to bring these in now. He doesn't want to have his army missing from the actual fight on the other side of the map. So catches a lot of the SCVs. About 7 go down immediately. Let's not forget upgrades are even for both sides, so no real advantage here. Just a Comet Shield for the time being.
Comet Shields is a pretty big deal though to have right now, and it's already actually working out quite well. And HeroMarine, I feel like he was attacking his own supply depot for a little bit there before the Marines actually dropped in. So that may end up burning down if he doesn't go save that at some point. Not that it should matter too much. They're both on maxed out supply. Finally knocking down those backdoor rocks, realizing, okay, well at this stage in this game, let's not leave an avenue of attack for my opponent to move in over here and make it even harder to defend than I need to. But both these players are going to be moving out. They're pretty close to maxed out, and this is the big time. This is the big moment.
Moment, you own it, you're never gonna let it go. Show. Whoa. Spaghetti.
+2 vehicle weapons starting up much earlier on from MarineLorD. I'm actually curious if HeroMarine's actually going to ever get it. Well, they both start up on the +2 infantry weapon or armor pretty quickly at the same time, but yeah, that could end up being a small advantage for MarineLorD if it ends up getting to that stage, but this engagement could very well be a big game decider. Vikings doing a lot of damage to each other right now, but the Marine counts are what I'm looking at, as it seems like MarineLorD just getting a small little edge over there with his own siege tank fire.
Yeah, Marine volleys just take out the Marines for both sides, and everyone's left with not a lot to fight with. MarineLorD does have more and better Marines, by the way, but they're on the other side of the map, so unfortunately, no way to really press the issue here. The tanks are going to unload, but funny enough, unsieged tanks catch them just as good as Zerglings will catch Marines unloading out of a medevac. So this actually goes a lot better for MarineLorD. And HeroMarine's got to be scratching his head like, wait, I had like way more siege tanks. Why did I just lose that fight?
Oh.
Got the Marines join the front lines as well, and this is actually not too bad for MarineLorD. He's lost a lot of his medevacs, but he still has high ground vision.
Nice medevac micro with those, that single last medevac that he has left over, keeping those 2 siege tanks that are very low on health alive. And pretty soon we're going to be seeing 3-3 upgrades finishing up, but whoa, what is this positioning? MarineLorD is going really deep into enemy territory, and I feel like he's going to be caught between 2 different angles. He just ends up getting completely surrounded and loses the majority of his army. He gets out with 1 medevac and a siege tank. That's it.
Ouch.
He's aware of the 4th expansion, right? Yeah, he is aware that the army was there.
I just like to imagine saying something like that, and like the players are watching the bond, they like, just sarcastically roll their eyes, like, "Of course I'm aware."
All right, well, there's a lot of units around for HeroMarine. They're going to be able to push in over here. Siege Tank's doing a ton of damage, and that's the biggest thing that I would say.
This is the main floated over. This wasn't a planetary made, so a bit unfortunate because that did make the defense a bit difficult. Now MarineLorD's without any tanks left, and HeroMarine should be able to push for victory here. If he makes the mistake and plays back off this and gives MarineLorD time to recover, then this ends up going really badly. But MarineLorD's mining off of like 1.5 bases right now, so he doesn't even have the money or much less the time to recover this. I don't think HeroMarine's aware of just how much of a lead he's gotten. 5 tanks is huge. 26 Marines to the 38. Upgrades even. This is not a good situation for MarineLorD.
Yeah, minor mech lead up right now for MarineLorD, but that's not going to be enough. GG.
GG, the consistency of the inconsistency continues through as HeroMarine ends up locking down the series. Moving on in the tournament.
And he is going to face off versus whoever the winner was of the other series. Apparently my script is not actually updating really quick.
Yeah, he'll go up against Major in the round of 8.
There you go. Oh, so Major
proving
ends up
once his
beating
TvT is
Violet.
pretty good, but I want to stress Major is actually a player who's been busting out weird mech stuff, so I would not actually give anyone like the default on that one.
Should definitely be an interesting match. And according to Wikipedia, that game will be played today after the entire round of 16 is finished up. But I think we're going to hop to a short little break while we figure out what the next, the deal is with the next series, which should be, as far as we're aware, Wellmu versus Mana in a PvP showdown. Yet another mirror matchup.
Yeah, so go play some ads. We'll see you guys in a bit. Thanks for watching.